Die Sowjets kommen, a popular shout used on April 16th, 1945, as more and more of the Red Army pushes into the Deutschland capital, which would be Berlin. Hey guys, my name is Kane Anderson, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about the fall of Berlin and the final stand by the Wehrmacht army, just the German army, in the last major battle of World War II. Three major points I'd like to discuss with you guys today are the start of the war, the Russian advancement into the city and surrounding the city, and the end of the war. Or, well, end of the battle, but end of the war. It was really one of the major last battles of World War II. Okay, first slide. Battle started April 16th, 1945. Preparations for this battle, Germany just knew that the Russians were going to throw literally everything at them. So they really just had to kind of prepare, and that's really just about it. It just kind of happened. Right after this, we have our first eyewitness, and her name is Gerda Drews, and I'm going to be saying her name a lot today because she was an actual witness of this battle and survived it. She didn't participate in fighting, but she lived in the city at the time. As I walked along the road, I was passed by military vehicles filled with more German soldiers. They were trying to break through the north of Berlin. As I just said, she was a survivor of the whole battle because many civilians were killed in this battle, unfortunately. She was a farmer right outside the north of Berlin, so she experienced many, many things. Another quote that I'd like to talk about with her is, this was a little later in her life. I mean, she was a survivor and she lived a very long time after this. So this one's slightly more humorous, but still serious. Friday, April 20th was Hitler's 56th birthday, and the Soviets sent him a present in the form of an artillery barrage right into the heart of the city. A little humorous. I'm glad she wasn't just filled with PTSD her entire life. So another eyewitness that we have who was actually a part of the German army, his name was Alex Poppel. I tried to say that many times. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. The amount of equipment deployed for the Berlin operation was so huge, I simply cannot describe it, and I was there. He was part of the 5th Shock Army, which was actually the army divided into just going full front lines. So he was just literally right in front the whole time. A little fun fact, he's actually still alive today. God, I think he's like 98 from what I saw. So that's insane. He was a German soldier, and he's still alive. As we can see with some facts presented on the screen, that the Germans were incredibly outnumbered. This was the end of the war, so 4, 5, 6 years of war, you're not going to have a lot of things left, especially towards the end of it. Russians had 2.5 million artillery. Russians just literally had 1,000 things more than the Germans. Soldier differences were also a part of this war. As you'll see in this next slide, the Russians surrounded and entered Berlin. Okay, I know I've said this a lot, but this was the end of the war, and the Germans were really desperate at this point. A lot of their soldiers had been fighting for 6 or 7 years, so they were running out of soldiers. So they not hired, they forced a bunch of little kids and old, sick gentlemen into the front lines of this battle, which is insane to me. So battle starts, there's a lot of fighting for a really long time. One thing that I do want to mention is that a lot of things in life, like it be a piece of coffee or just a coffee or like some pizza, I think most people would agree that quality would be over quantity. But in this particular battle, and a lot of war in general, I'm going to say that quantity is really going to outweigh the quality here. Germans really had way better equipment, way better tanks, way better rifles, way better strategists, everything. But at the end of the war, we didn't have a lot of troops, and the Germans or the Russians were just pushing and really, really destroying them. So the city was in ruins, rubble scattered. A lot of fighting became fierce and hand-to-hand. There's been reports of a lot of Russian soldiers who didn't even have rifles, and they kind of just charged in with like broken beer bottles or like Rebar or wooden sticks. So that's actually terrifying. For every one German soldier, there were 7 Russian soldiers. Battle for the center of the city approaches, which would decide the fate of either side. May 1st, the center of the city has been taken by the Soviets. Many German troops wanted to escape or surrender, which makes sense to me because if you were a little kid or an older gentleman who has a disease, if you were standing up against a bunch of war-torn, angry Soviets with rifles pointing at you, I think you would want to leave or retreat. I really don't blame them. The very next day, May 2nd, German generals surrendered to the Soviets, which leads to my conclusion. But right before I get to my conclusion, I just wanted to state some random facts that I thought were really interesting as I was researching this topic. So we all know that when Germany started World War II, they invaded Poland and they took over that country. But I mean, Poland still had troopers; they were just captured. But when the Soviet army came, they freed them, and they were just like, "Hey, do you guys want to help us take the city?" And they were like, "Yeah, of course, screw the Germans." So I thought that was really cool. A lot of Polish troopers on the side of the Soviets. Poland actually has a holiday, and it's on May 2nd, whenever the Berlin flag fell, and they have off of work. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, they have a holiday. That's really cool. And of course, like every war, the battle left over 1 million Germans without homes, clean water, or food. Some final thoughts that I have, I guess more of a recap, is we've mentioned the start of the war. We've mentioned the Russians advancing, surrounding the city, and we've mentioned the last battle, the end of the war. But some things that also led to the end of the war were, so the city falls, Berlin is taken by the Soviets, Allies not soon after. Hitler runs away, goes into his bunker, commits suicide, we all know that. But something to ponder you guys with. Why is this all important? Why am I talking about the fall of Berlin? Why does it matter? And here's why. I think history is really important because it helps us understand why the way we are living and why we are where we are as a species. Studying history allows us to learn from our mistakes and works to better ourselves in the way of life and to better our country. That's it.